Good morning, students. Our session of auditing and corporate governance. Now, as far as our previous session was concerned, in our last session, we have completed two main points, that is, auditor's duty and ascertainment of efficiency of internal check system. Now, today, we are going to start the new topic, that is internal check of cash sales. Yes, it is really very important. The organization is engaged in the cash sales need to do internal check in a proper manner so that the errors and frauds, the chances of errors and frauds will be minimized. There are three different types of cash sales we have. The first one is sales at counter, second one is sales by traveling agent, and third one, that is sales by post. The first one, that is sales at counter. Sales at counter means the organizations is selling their goods directly to their customers, and they have the salesperson with them, and with the help of that salesperson they are going to sell their product to the end user, that is to the consumers, and consumers directly pay goods at the counter. So it is one of the easiest and simplest mode for the cash sales. Many a times we are visiting the shop, and if you are going to purchase for the garments, you are select the particular product and immediately you are going to pay for that product. This is the example of sales at counter. Yes, normally organization make cash sales at their retail shops. Yes, here we are not considering any manufacturing unit. Here we are considering the shops in which the goods directly sold to their customers. Since the sales are effected on a large scale, many employees are employed to look after below transactions. Yes, when the cash sales are there, at that time we are supposed to put focus on the transactions in which the sales at counters are going to be there. So, organization required the manpower, the maximum manpower through which they are going to control or they are having a proper internal check. The first one, that is receiving cash. In receiving cash, no errors, no frauds are allowed. Second one, that is delivering goods. The delivery of good is prompt and it must be in a proper manner. The defective goods, we need to see that it is not going to be dispatched to our customers, and actual quantity, a proper quality is going to be dispatched by our counter person. And the third one, that is keeping records of the transaction. It is really very important one that organization is going to keep each and every records in which the cash transactions are going to be happen. Yes, there are few matters that involves directly in sales at counter. First one, there should be a cashier in each department. If the organization is very huge, so at that time a separate cashier is required in each and every department. Then after, there should be 4 copies of cash memos which is prepared by the salesman. When the sale is going to be happen when actually sales are there. So at that time salesman is going to prepare 4 copies of the cash memo. Make my words, it is required to prepare 4 copies, because with the help of these copies the cross verification of the transaction is possible. Out of 4 copies, 1 copy retained with the salesman who actually sold that good. Second copy sent to the dispatch clerk, where you are going to pay the amount of your sales. And third one, 2 copies hand over to the customers. Yes, the 1 copy is with the salesman, is the person who sell that particular goods. Second one, the second copy sent to the dispatch clerk. It is a person who is going to receive the money from the customer, and the customer has 2 copies with them. The next point, customer should give 2 copies to the cashier. The cashier will affix the stamp received cash and retain 1 copy with him and return 1 copy to the customer. એટલે કસ્ટમર પાસે જે 2 કોપી હશે એ 2 કોપીમાંથી 1 કોપી એ કેશિયરને આપશે અને કેશ પે કરશે. દેન આફ્ટર કેશિયર જે છે એ 1 કોપીમાં રિસીવ્ડ કેશ એનું સ્ટેમ્પિંગ કરશે, બંને કોપીમાં કરશે, પછી 1 કોપી એ પોતાની પાસે રાખશે અને જે રિમેનિંગ કોપી છે એ પાછી કસ્ટમરને રિટર્ન કરશે. Then after, the receipted goods of cash memo will be shown by the customer to the dispatch clerk, who will compare the item with his copy and deliver the goods and affix the stamp, that is goods delivered. Now the customer goes to the dispatch clerk, where he is supposed to take his goods. So here he is going to show the second copy on which cash received is stamped. Now here this dispatch clerk is again going to stamp, that is goods delivered. So here the whole process of cash sales is completed. At the end of the day, the salesman, the cashier and the delivery clerk will prepare a summary, and these summaries will be verified by a responsible official. Total of days sale should be shown as cash sale on the receipt side of cash book. That is but obvious. Detail of cash memo should be entered in a separate sales registered with detail of cash memo and dates. Means here a daily transaction must be recorded in each and every books of accounts, so that the cross verification is possible, and with the help of that cross verification the chances of frauds, the chances of errors will be minimized. The cash collected should be deposited in the bank daily. Yes, daily deposition of the cash is preferable, because if cash is there with a particular person, so at that time the chances of fraud might be there. And the last one, duties of employees should be changed at certain intervals. it is highly advisable that organization going to change the duties of the employees who are engaged in the process of sales at counter, and through that they are able to make sure that the employees are performing with their morals and with their ethics. So it's all about sales at counter. Now the next one, that is sales by traveling agent. Now here a traveling salesman is appointed by the organization, and this traveling person is going to sell the goods and collect the cash. Here the traveling agent is going to visit the different cities, the different areas, and fulfill the target of the organization. So traveling salesmen perform a very vital role as far as the cash sales is concerned, because many a time it is not possible that each and every customer visit your place and you are going to sell your product. Sometimes if you are going to expand your sales, so for that reason you are going to expand your area of sales, and your sales area is expanded with the help of our traveling agents. Now here it is given that normally traveling salesmen are appointed to sell goods and also to collect cash. They are performing both the duties, that is selling of the goods is also there and the collection of cash is also there. These agents are empowered to prepare cash memos or book orders. They are accepting the orders or they are responsible for preparing cash memos. They are also empowered to deliver the goods and collect cash. For this purpose, they are given identification letter by the concern. Yes, without authority, they are not performing their role. So, the management, the higher officer of the marketing department is going to produce the letter of concern, and by accepting this official letter, now traveling agent is going to perform his role, that is the delivery of goods and the collection of cash. Again, there are few main points that is going to be performed by our traveling agents. The first one, there is a kacha receipt, or we can say that interim receipt by the traveling agent. The head office should later on send official receipt or pakka receipt. Yes, traveling agent is only a mediator who is going to sell the goods or collect the money. So he is not the official person to give the pakka receipt or official receipt. So instead of producing pakka receipt, he gave kacha receipts to the parties, and when he collect the cash and when he deposit the same cash to the head office, so then after head office is going to produce the official receipt to the concerned party. Then after, the consumers should be informed to intimate the company in case they do not receive the official receipt within the proper period of time. If our customer do not receive the official receipt from our head office, then they need to inform us, that they need to inform the organization, so that we comes to know that how our traveling agent is performing their duties. The next one, that is, traveling agent should send the total cash collection to their chief cashier. Yes, whatever cash he is collected need to send to the chief cashier along with their kacha receipt. Now in this cash, he is not going to deduct his own expenditures, but the same cash is given by the organization separately to him. So whatever money is there with the traveling agent, he has no right to deduct his personal expenditures out of this collected money. Then after, agent should also submit their tour report giving details of customers, that how they are prefer the goods, which quality they are going to expect. Then after, how many goods they sold during a particular period of time, and how much money or how much cash he is realized. He need to give a full report to the head office. Then after, it is really very important point that the agent should be kept moving in different localities and areas. Yes, if your Mr. X, your traveling agent Mr. X, is visit Wakaner for more than 6 to 7 months, so now it is a duty of organization that is to change his area or his locality, because if the same person is going to visit the same place for the numbers of time, then that will be problematic for the organization, as the chances of fraud will be there. So it's all about sales by traveling agent. Now the third point, the last point of cash sale is sales by post. Yes, some organization accept or they are going to adopt this system, that they are receiving the cash or they are receiving the cash through post, but it is totally depends upon the nature and the types of product in which the organization is engaged. Here few points are there. One by one we are going to discuss it. The first one, the records and accounts retained to sales by VPP, that is value payable post, should be maintained separately. Here, when the organization is receiving cash through post, so for that purpose, the organization or the account department is required to prepare a separate registered, that is VPP registered for sales by post circumstances. Then after, the details of order received, customers' names and addresses and goods sent to them should be recorded in a separate register. Here there are few registers are going to be prepared by the accountant. The one in which they are going to record the cash which is received through post, and the second register is prepared by the same person in which they are adding or they are writing the names of the customers, their address, their contact number, the goods received, the goods sent or order received, whatever. They are going to prepare again a separate register for it. Then after, cash realized by post should be entered daily in VPP register and should be accounted for in cash book daily. First you are going to enter in VPP register, and then after the same amount is going to be recorded in the cash book on daily basis. Then after, return of goods should be recorded in VPP register. Then after, some responsible officer should verify VPP registered with order received, good dispatched and cash received. And the last one, the summary of goods sent and cash received should be prepared and tallied. Yes, each and everything, whether we are selling at counter, if we are selling by traveling agent or by selling post, whatever cash is going to be received by the organization, it must be properly recorded, it must be properly cross-verified. So, the chances of errors, the chances of fraud, the chances of manipulations, misappropriation should be minimized. So that's all about internal check of cash sales. Now the next point, that is internal check for the payment of wages. Yes, wage you are not going to pay by check, or here no wage account like salary account is prepared and in which you are directly credit the amount, because they are at the bottom level. The workers are totally illiterate. Sometimes they are not able to handle their bank account. So they get confused if you give checks to them or you directly credit the amount in their accounts. So somehow for the workers, a cash payment of wage is highly preferable, because if you pay in cash, then they get the confidence that the amount is in a proper manner. So the trust building, the trust is going to be built up easily when the payment of wage is there in the cash. Yes, there are few points that must be considered at the time of payment of wages. First one, that is record of attendance. Yes, before paying wages to them or before calculating the wages of our workers, first and foremostly, it is highly required for the accountant, that is to check the records of our workers' attendance. Means if our workers are continuously absent for a particular period of time. So the calculation of wage is going to be there according to their presence. And again, there are few problems that is to be there when the payment is there on different basis. Suppose you are paying wages on time basis. So we need to consider a proper time in which your workers are coming and your workers are going to there with your organization. So here incoming and outgoing timing must be recorded in a proper manner. The another problem of record of attendance, that is when the organization is paying on piecework basis. So here a proper record must be prepared that how many items is going to be produced by the employees. So on each and every piece they are getting the wage. So a proper calculation of their piece must be there so that there will be no errors at the time of calculating the wages. Here second main point, that is calculation of wages. Yes, it is really very important point because on the basis of wage sheets the accountant is going to calculate the wages, and when the wage sheet is in a proper manner, so there will be no confusion on the calculation part. When organization provides some facilities of provident funds are there, insurance premiums are there, so these all things need to be calculated at the time of calculation of wages. So for that reason they are not going to be confused that why we are receiving less wage or why the other employees receive the maximum wage. So calculation must be in a precise manner so that we are able to maintain the trust of our workers. Then after third point, that is payment of wages. Here 90% wages are distributed on their I-card basis. Yes, each and every workers have their separate identity card. When the company pays wages, so it is required that the worker shows their ID cards and it gives a proof that the worker is there with the organization for the particular period of time. So here the signature is going to be taken or a thumb impression is going to be there at the time of paying wages. So a proper calculation of cash must be there when we are paying wages to our workers. Then after the last one, that is casual labor. Casual laborers are not the regular laborers. They are not our regular workers. But during the inflation, when the demands goes high, so at that time we required additional workers. So that additional worker will be treated as casual laborers. And sometimes the reverse situation, as we are facing in this corona situation, that the demand is not there, the production is not there, so many laborers lost their job due to this worst condition. So here, when the casual laborers are there, a separate register must be maintained and a proper calculation must be done by the accountant at the time of paying wages to them. So, it's all about internal check for the payment of wages. Now, the next point, that is the difference between internal audit and statutory audit. As you know, the basic meaning of internal audit and statutory audit. I am just reading the points. I hope it will be clear to you. First one, it is carried on by a special staff appointed for auditing the accounts of the business. In statutory audit, it is an audit made compulsory under any law and is performed in accordance with the law. In internal audit, it is not a compulsory audit, while statutory audit is a compulsory audit. Then after, the nature and scope of such audit are fixed by the management, because management appoints the internal auditor. While in statutory audit, the nature and scope of audit are prescribed in the law and cannot therefore be limited. The next one, internal auditor is an employee of the company. He is not the outsider, he is the part of the organization. While statutory auditor is an independent person of the company. Next one, internal auditor can be removed at any time by the management, while statutory auditor cannot be removed at any time. The next, internal auditor need not to be a chartered accountant, while statutory auditor must be a chartered accountant. Then after, internal auditor is not entitled to attend the shareholders meeting, while statutory auditor is entitled to attend the shareholders meeting, because shareholders appoints our internal auditor. Next, internal auditor is liable to management, while statutory auditor is liable to the shareholders. Next, internal auditor is required to present his report to the management, while statutory auditor is required to present his report to the shareholders. Next, it is complete audit and is a continuous audit, as the staff is specially appointed for this purpose only. Then after, it is a test check, and audit is generally a periodic audit done at the end of financial year. one, main purpose to use. The main aim is to make useful suggestion to the management. While the purpose of statutory audit is to examine the accounts to verify the correctness of accounts. So that's all about the difference between internal audit and statutory audit. Now the next difference, that is between internal check and internal audit. In internal check, it is an arrangement of work whereby the work of one employee is automatically and continuously checked by another employee. In internal audit, it is reviewed of operations and records undertaken within a business by specially assigned staff. Then after, it is carried out simultaneously with the writing of books of accounts. While internal audit, it is performed after the accounts have been written, because in internal audit the cross verifications of books of accounts are there. Then after, the object of it is the prevention of early detection of errors and fraud. The object of internal check is to assure the management that the internal check and accounting system are effective in design and operation. Next one, it includes such matters as the allocation of authorities and division of work among employees and the proper recording of transactions. Then after, the scope of internal audit vary in different business, and in large organization it may extend to matters not directly or on accounting nature. And the last one, in this, no additional staff is required, while in internal check, organization required a special staff for the checking of or for the verifications of books of accounts. So that's all about today's session. Today we complete our chapter number 1 of unit number 1, that is internal audit and control. Hope this chapter is clear to you. Now in the next session we are going to start with the new chapter, that is second chapter of unit number 2. I hope you all are clear about it. So today I am ending our session. Thank you so much.